Toronto is, of course, a great place to live, especially if you're between the ages of 15 and 29. That is according to a new survey released this morning. Here to talk about Toronto being named the #1 youthful city of the year is Robert Bernard from Youthful Cities. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks very much.
So, first of all, reaction to this. This is extremely impressive.
Yeah, I mean, we spent almost a year building this. Thousands of young people around the world focused on figuring out what makes a city youthful. And we have about 80 different ways of looking at a city, and after all that crunching of data, Toronto turns out to be the #1 city overall out of the 25 cities that we ranked around the world.
Okay, I want to get to the criteria in a moment, but let's run down the 5 top cities in the world if you are between the ages of 15 and 29 to live. There you see, number 5 is Paris, number 4 Dallas, New York City is 3, Berlin, and then Toronto is number 1. So break down what makes the best youthful city. What are we looking at?
I think when you look at Toronto, one of the things very impressive is obviously the diversity of Toronto. We talk about that all the time, but in our category rankings, Toronto was #1 in diversity, beating out some traditional places like London and New York. We also see Toronto very strong on the employment and entrepreneurship side, but we also see it very strong in what we call the play categories, which is music and film and fashion and sport. So it's really the balance of Toronto that ended up making it the top city in the world from a youth perspective.
So, I mean, in a few years, this generation will grow up, and you want to make sure that this is going to maintain the status. How difficult do you think that'll be?
Well, I think first of all, we're only ranking 25 cities, so one thing for Toronto is it has to get its A game together in order to stay at the top. It needs to engage youth. And youth are important to every city. They drive the economy, they create new ideas, they bring vibrancy. I think it's the cities that pay attention to that and really engage that group that are going to be the big winners in the future.
Now, tell us a little bit about your group. You guys are based in Toronto. Some people might see a little bit of bias in that.
Toronto and London, England.
Toronto and London.
So, yeah, and I think whenever you do a study like this, we really want to mitigate any kind of biases. So we had advisors from around the world, only one advisor from Toronto looking at the data, building our methodology. And so we're very, very strong and confident with what we've got here today. And it's great to be able to release it, and obviously good for Toronto for at least a year. They've got that title, and we'll see how it does a year from now.
So this is the first year for this study.
It is.
Now, how long does this process take?
Well, we've been building it for about a year. We consulted with thousands of youth to kind of build the indicators that we were going to be measuring cities on. Then we got young people around the world in these 25 cities to collect the data, and then you start crunching the numbers. So overall, it takes about 6 months to create it, and we're going to start the 2015 index in January. So we're working toward it.
We're running out of time, but I want to ask you, what are the things that we need to work on when it comes to the 15 to 29 age group specifically?
Yeah, the 2 areas of weakness, civic participation, which is a big issue right now in Toronto, and the other one was around mental health, which I heard just before the newscast. So those are 2 areas that seem to drop Toronto's ranking a little bit. So areas of weakness, but also opportunities for young people to get on that and try to fix that stuff.
Great stuff. Well, great results for us, no question about that. Robert Bernard, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks so much.
All right, back to you, Liza.